Hey, all the fantasy football friends out there. Welcome to the Multiple First Dynasty Football channel. This is Tony, Stash X on the Sleeper app, coming at you with our day 2 of the NFL Draft review for your Dynasty Superflex Fantasy Football Leagues. Today, we have the Velociraptor Greg with us. How you feeling today, brother?
I am on overload, man. I so much football and dynasty, uh, all goodness this weekend. Good landing spots, bad landing spots, trades, veterans. My players getting wiped out. My players getting a new wide receiver. It's uh, been a lot. I'm excited to talk about it all.
Yeah, man. There's so many good things to talk about here. It was a heck of a process. Boy, what happened with those QBs though just makes you feel like the whole class is just weak. Yeah, that's my just general takeaway from the whole thing is like this is not great out here.
For sure, that's the number one takeaway. The number one
Yeah,
takeaway of the whole weekend. This was a bad quarterback class. They told you that by the way they went after Trubisky and Mariota, and they signed them to deals that are perfect bridge deals for the 2023 class. You can go look at your 2023 way too early mock drafts, and there's 5 quarterbacks in the first round in all of them. Uh, and the NFL was smart enough not to, I think, just let the best quarterbacks rise because of their quarterbacks,
yeah,
even if none of them are good enough. Right. So
yeah. You think like the 23 class being so loaded kind of like forced a lot of these guys down even further because no one
it did.
wanted to like commit to this guy, try to develop this guy, quote unquote waste a pick on one of these guys with what's to come. You know.
If you really think it's a 2-year process and next year is going to have 5 or 6 1-year process prospects, then why are you investing in a 2-year project guy now instead of, I don't know, just get some edge players,
Yeah.
get some address those trenches, and then
Get a wide
bring some
receiver.
guys in for the guy next. Yeah, exactly. It makes total sense. All right,
Yeah,
so we've
yeah.
got about a jillion picks to go through. So what we were planning to do here is go through every fantasy relevant player in round 2, the way we did for round 1. And then we'll hit the highlights of round 3 and then the minimal highlights of day 3. And then we'll call it a wrap. We'll let that be just a primer for people who have their rookie draft coming up like in the next 12 to 24 hours. And then we'll do another video that we can put out talking about tiers and all the rest of the stuff afterwards. But let's first dig in to who went where and what names you need to know and who these people are. Sound
Yeah,
good?
man. Yeah, man. First up, Christian Watson was taken as the 34th overall player to the Packers. Green Bay just does not want to give Aaron Rodgers a first round receiver. They refuse on principle. Yeah, Christian
Oh,
Watson.
yeah.
I've been in on this guy at least very interested in this guy since he came out. I mean, 6'5", insane speed, insane athletic profile. I think what's most interesting about him is Green Bay knew he was sitting there and didn't move up for any of the big first round receivers. Didn't make a trade up to get a Burks or London or anything like that. They feel comfortable with the second tier, and the guy out of the second tier they feel most comfortable with was clearly Christian Watson. So this team has drafted very well in the past. The Packers brass. I'm interested in Watson. I'm willing to spend 10th pick in my startup draft. I'm in the rookie draft, 11th, 12th, something like that. I expect to have a pretty decent sized bite out of Christian Watson. Where you at on him?
So, yeah, one other thing to mention here is they gave up 2 second-round picks to go get him,
Hmm.
which tells you how much they liked him. So, I like Christian Watson. I've got him around the end of the first round. I suspect the community will get high enough on him that I won't get a good bite of him. And that'll make me a little sad. Although every time somebody gets overheated, that means other people are dropping to you at value spots. Um, yeah, I don't love the fact that the rawest wide receiver in the top parts of the class went to the most win now team. That's a kind of a weird fit.
That's a fair take.
Um,
Yeah.
so here's a list of guys: Anthony Miller, Zay Jones, Aaron Dobson, Titus Young, Andy Isabella, Dwayne Eskridge, Brian Quick, and Christian Watson. Does that list make you happy?
No, not at all.
Okay. Those are all of the guys who went in this. Those are all the wide receivers since 2011 who have gone in the second round from a non-Power 5 conference as a senior draft prospect, not an early declare. That's the list. These guys who play their whole career at a non-Power 5 school without dominating enough to come out early don't hit often. This guy might be an exception. COVID might also be a reason he stayed in school longer, right? So,
Yeah.
but I don't know. He's a little risky, but the ceiling is he is the best player in this class at any position.
Yeah, I mean, I trust the Packers, but it's all about cost. I'm not going to take him over a Dotson. I'm not going to take him over any of the first round receivers. Absolutely. So.
Yep.
Next guy coming off the list, the big 101 rookie tailback, Brees Hall, lands to the New York Jets in the 204 spot. The Jets traded up from their 38th to the 36th. They gave up a 5th round pick to go get him. Brees for me is, if you know me, if you've talked to me, begrudgingly my RB1. I very much like Kenneth Walker, but upon talking to a lot of dudes that I really respect their opinions, and I mean not industry guys like within the NFL, but a lot of fantasy analysts, industry content creator people, everyone's telling me Brees is still the 101 no matter what, and I trust that. Yeah, I love the landing spot as far as the Jets O-line is good. He can definitely, just sit Michael Carter down because his talent's so good. He could just bury Carter on the depth chart. He catches the ball. He's got that straight line speed. He likes to break a home run play. For me personally, though, my last thought on Brees is if I can trade Brees for Walker plus some juice, I'm going to be doing that as much as I can. But, yeah.
Don't hate that. Don't hate that. Yeah, I really agree with that. I love the way the Jets are handling Zach Wilson. I got to tell you.
Heck yeah.
Would you trade your Justin Fields share after everything that's happened this weekend for a Zach Wilson share?
Oh, boy. That is such a...
You don't have to answer now. Just sit and think about that, right?
Yeah.
Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall. They went and got a tight end in the third round. This is a team that I think has made itself better in a lot of ways over the last 2 years. And I think Zach Wilson is going to make it. And if people are fading Elijah Moore or Garrett Wilson or Zach Wilson or Brees Hall right here because they don't like the laundry they wear, then I am taking that 15 to 20% discount over, where they would be if they were on a neutral team. Where, I don't know what the most boring team is, but like there,
yeah,
right? Minnesota. I don't know. I'm insulting somebody here, right?
No, the Jets might be the most neutral team.
I think people like to hate the Jets, right?
That's true.
What I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
If they were in a spot that if this were the rebuild going on in a place that people didn't have it'll never work feelings about, people would be really into this.
Yeah,
that's my take.
And the only reason I like and my take of having Walker above has nothing to do with the uniform. Like I'm fine with him being a Jet. It's just I love Kenneth Walker, and that's why we're going to talk about Kenneth Walker right now.
Yep.
Oh, this is Kenneth Walker. This is my 1B. I'm not even going to call him 2. He's my 1B in the class. Massive landing spot in Seattle. In my opinion, the Seahawks had bigger needs than tailback, and they took this guy anyway. So that means they love him. Pete Carroll probably saw the same thing I did on tape, saying, "Wow, this guy can do stuff with the ball in his hands." Pete Carroll loves to run it. If he could, he'd run it every single snap of the whole game. So So give me that. Give me Walker on those snaps. Concerns: Seattle's offensive line has kind of been crumbling lately. They did take an offensive tackle with their first round and third round pick, so that's interesting. But yeah, I'm going to be taking Walker with every single one of my 102s. Um, yeah, I'm stoked for Walker. He's the player in this class that I'm most excited to see on the football field. Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if we came out of this season with both Hall and Walker as top 6 Dynasty startup RBs. So I don't hate that. I don't hate moving down for Walker at all. I love that. I love the landing spot. They're going to run the football a ton. They drafted 2 tackles with high picks. They're going to give him the ball a lot. I know people are like, "Oh, he's going to split with Rashad Penny. He's going to." No, I'm sorry. This is his job. Goodbye, Rashad Penny. If you have Rashad Penny, and I do in a few spots, and somebody wants to trade for him like he's going to be the 1A for 1 year, and Walker's going to be the 1B, I'm out. I'm going. I'm trading, right? Because Penny is done. He's a penny stock at this point.
There you go. Yeah, Chris Carson's. He's done on his own.
Rashad Penny stock. Yes, there you go. That was the better performance there. Yeah. So he's your 102. Yeah, and it's a tier, right? I think there's going to be a lot of people who say, yeah, it's Hall 101, Walker 102, and it's like tier 1 Hall, tier 2 Walker. And for me, and I think for you, for me, and I know for you, because you just have been banging the table for me, that's 1 tier. So
these guys are shoulder to shoulder, in my opinion. Hall and Walker, they're right next to each other. If anyone's telling you otherwise, like Hall is this can't miss and Walker's average, then tell them to go watch some film. All right, because that ain't true. And, yeah.
Okay, so then the next guy who went here, the second wide receiver off the board in the second round was Wan'Dale Robinson.
Who?
From Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yes. Now wait. No. All of our listeners listened to our preview show, and we did mention Wan'Dale Robinson.
But he's an SEC school, right? Kentucky's SEC, so you like
Kentucky's
that a little
SEC.
Bit. Yeah, you like that a little.
He went at the 43rd pick. That's the 211. The Giants traded down a couple of times, and settled with Wan'Dale. This is thought to be a reach. Surprise at wide receiver 8. I don't love this. He feels like a gadget piece. He's a bit of a home run piece. He's a guy who is, he's done some wildcat quarterback, and he's played running back, and he returns kicks, and he's an outside wide receiver. And also he was their leading receiver last year in the SEC, right? So I don't want to act like he's just a gadget guy, right? But that's where a lot of his value comes from, is he's a home run gadget guy. And I don't love that at 43 for the Giants. And I'm not drafting him as the wide receiver 8 just because he went 8th in this draft. He's also very similar to Kadarius Toney, who has, and we've heard those trade rumors about Kadarius Toney, but they didn't get him traded during the draft. They're not going to give him away. He was a first-round pick last year. I don't know what that situation's all about, other than, they did change coaching staffs, right? But just, Kenny Galladay's there, but the new coaching staff didn't sign him either. That is one of the worst contracts in the league at this point. So I have no idea how this guy fits. And yet you can only fade the 43rd pick and the first offensive pick, or the first skill position pick, by a new coaching staff run by an offensive head coach, right, in Brian Daboll. You can only fade that so much, right? So if Brian Daboll wants to use this guy, somewhere in the second round of your rookie draft, this guy belongs now, which is probably, half a round higher, maybe 8 picks higher than he would have been 2 days ago.
Yeah, I
And I
agree.
think that's justified. Yeah.
Dable's the only plus here for me with him, and it's the best thing
And
I
the
can say about him.
capital. The capital.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like they want to use him.
Sure. I can't add anything to your breakdown. I mean, there you go. He's worth a pick in the second round somewhere, but you decide that. He is worth it though. Don't let him slide into the third.
Yes.
Player I like more and will be taking ahead of Wandale is John Metchi
Agreed.
to the Houston Texans. He went as the very next pick in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is 44. So I like this. I like the pedigree as an Alabama player stepping into a place where he should start off the rip. The injury doesn't really concern me. Him and JMO have been working out, and they're both coming along very nicely in the recovery so far as I can tell. This is pretty interesting. I think he's an interesting taxi stash because of if the Texans are bad and they get an elite quarterback next year, now you have a receiver who's paired with one of these up and coming young awesome QBs. That's nifty. Cooks could be traded, so maybe you have the Texans wide receiver one here. Also very interesting. Um, yeah, I'm down for Metchi, and he should produce year one. Maybe not in the top 40 receivers, but you probably have the occasional startable game. Yeah.
And not just retrospectively startable games, but like in the bye week area, he will probably have enough projected targets that you can actually start him, maybe not with comfort, but with at least confidence that he's better than your alternatives would have been if you didn't have him, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. And so I agree with everything you just said. I think it's a pretty bad result for Nico Collins, but also not the end of his opportunities, especially since Cooks could move on. And honestly, Collins is his draft capital was only 20, 30 spots worse than this. So they could work as complements. A pair of day two guys, right? So Nico Collins is no longer one of the cheapest young starting wide receivers with upside, but he's not dead either. So, I like John Metchi. He's not super fast or big or anything like that, but he runs great routes and he gets open. And the Texans saw that, so good job. Good job for the Texans. All right. So the next guy up 6 spots after that is our second head scratcher of the round.
Yeah. What the heck?
Taekwon Thornton of Baylor went to New England. Now, if you, and we know you did, listener, checked out our wide receiver episode, we barely mentioned the name Taekwon Thornton. I believe I just said, hey, here's this guy. He's from Baylor. He's big and he ran a 4.28 at the combine. Well, 4.28 got him top 50 draft capital to New England via a trade up. This is the second out of left field pick for the Patriots who do that. But I mean, gosh, I don't know what to make of him. 6'2", 4.28, and goes to a place where there aren't a lot of good receivers. He could easily be the wide receiver 1 or the wide receiver 2 starting with Parker, or the wide receiver 4 behind Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers and Devontae Parker, or the wide receiver 5 behind Nelson Aguilar. I mean, can he play? There was not a lot on the tape that made it look like he could play. Because Baylor runs a really strange system that translates poorly to what most NFL people do. We have not seen a lot of successful Baylor wide receivers transition to the NFL. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't really know this guy's name before the draft, so there you go. I can't add anything. My only note on this guy is another log on the Belichick wide receiver dumpster fire. That might be what's going on here. I don't know. Maybe at the 212 I'll take this guy. I don't know. I'd probably take Jelani Woods over him. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, Jelani Woods may be gone at the 212.
You're right.
So you're
right.
Here's one other thing I wanted to note. Beyond the first round, wide receiver 40 times negatively correlate to success when adjusted for draft capital. Meaning, if you have two wide receivers that both go, in the 140s, right? In the pick, the picks in the 140s, right? The one who is slower is more likely to succeed, all things considered, right? Because there are, the other things besides being fast have to be better to get to whatever the spot that is, right? Whereas when real fast guys don't go in the first round, it's because like there's something somewhere that's making people worried, right? I just want you to remember that, and that gets especially strong after round 2. So Thornton is actually on the right side of that, but the fourth round wide receiver who runs a 4.65 is much more likely to have a productive career than the fourth round wide receiver who runs a 4.35, statistically speaking.
Yeah.
So Thornton and Robinson, probably the last two guys off the board amongst the second round draftees.
Yeah, let's get into this tier of receiver that I'm excited for. Yeah, that's enough on Thornton. I agree with you, though.
George Pickens.
George Pickens, Pittsburgh. Love it. Love these wide receivers in the second round going to the Steelers. Just they've hit a lot on them. Juju, James Washington, Chase Claypool, Deontay. Just Antonio Brown was like a 5th-round pick, wasn't he? I mean, Pittsburgh knows what they're doing at receiver, so I trust them. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in Pickens. I want him in the early second-round area. This bodes poorly for Deontay, who's coming into that contract year. I mean, maybe he gets franchised. Maybe they just let him strictly walk outright. Maybe he gets dealt in the season. A lot of fog in the future for Deontay, and a long-term
trade.
Yeah, a long-term extension seems like the least likely of all the possible outcomes. I'm interested in Pickens. I'm still buying Claypool. If Claypool sees 2-round drop in his ADP and I can still get him in like the 11th round, like that'd be sweet. I still personally really like the talent in Chase Claypool.
I do too. I think eventually Claypool, Johnson, and Pickens will all likely be starting, and 2 of them in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. This may be the guy in the second round who I am most high on. I think this might be my top second round pick, specifically because the maturity concerns around him are mitigated for me by going to Pittsburgh. Right? Like there were some concerns that this guy was not super serious about football, and I think Pittsburgh is one of these organizations, Baltimore's another one, where I feel like they get the best out of people. So yeah, everything, all arrows pointing up for this guy. Next guy, another one I liked a lot, 53rd overall, the pick 221, 21st of the second round. Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati goes to Indianapolis. I really like this player. I really like this landing spot. I think this is an immediate starter. I think he has a big ceiling. He has good draft capital. I think this is a high second round pick in your rookie drafts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this hurts Pittman. I think Pittman is so. We are often too quick to spin the story that the new receiver won't hurt the old receiver because they'll draw coverage away. But Pittman is one of the few receivers out there who really needed somebody to take some coverage away.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing on this team after him, too. I mean, nothing at receiver. Just barren.
No.
Yeah.
Flush your Paris Campbell shares. And then, again, we need that flush.
The flush emoji. Noise. Yeah. Sound file.
We got to get a sound file. Yeah. Man, we're just starting out, folks. I promise you, we will get a soundboard with flush sound effects. We'll have drops. It'll be great. So yeah, I think this is an immediate starter. I don't know if you made me guess, I would say he never gets past Pittman on that depth chart, and so this is what keeps him a tier down from the Pickens and Christian Watson tier, where I see guys who have the ceiling of a true one for their team, who then, if it's a good offense, could be a legit fantasy wide receiver one. Alec Pierce profiles more to me as like the number 2 on his team, but in a fairly close split, and then maybe a low 2, high 3 fantasy wide receiver, which is like a really good asset. So get that in your second round.
Oh yeah, I don't have a lot to add other than I love him too. Can't wait to get him. Hopefully he gets pushed down the board to me. This has you look at previous years wide receivers who hit in the early second round. I mean, Pittman was one of them. T. Higgins, Elijah Moore. This screams that type of value to me. Give me some Pierce. I want Alec Pierce, please and thank you. Next up, Skye Moore, Kansas City Chiefs. He went as the 54th player off the board. So this is interesting. The Chiefs didn't trade up for this, right? They just sat there and took him in the spot. I don't
there
remember.
was some moving around the board, but I don't remember. I actually think they may have moved. They may have moved down to this spot earlier.
Yeah, I project Moore is going to be kind of overdrafted by the community. I don't anticipate getting very much of him. People are probably going to be taking him as the first of the second round receivers off the board, which I think is a mistake. They're probably going to be taking him over some Dotson type players. Also, obviously, I think that's a mistake. I'd be more than willing to roster this guy, but I fear his cost may be too high for me.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I'm going to land too. He's in the same tier for me as those guys. I am willing to. It's close between him and Dotson. It's close between Pickens, Watson, Dotson, Olave. But I do think he's going to get overdrafted. I think he might end up like the wide receiver 3, and it'll get to the point where we don't have to ask, should he be ahead of Dotson or should he be ahead of Olave? Because like he's not going to be there, right? I do think he's going to be overdrafted. Watson may be overdrafted, and some of the other guys may fall to you.
Yeah, let's just talk about this 3 receiver stretch. I thought this was probably the most interesting little part of the draft, in terms of day 2 and 3 here. Pickens, Pierce, Moore, Steelers, Colts, Chiefs. 3 great franchises. They're all in the AFC. 3 wide receiver talents I liked before landing spots. Like, would you say you're going to have them ranked or drafted in the order that they just went? Pickens, Pierce, Moore.
I have Pierce last of the 3.
Okay, so probably
I have Pickens, Moore, Pierce.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, I could see that. I think I still have Pickens
Moore
one.
More has less competition, and he's attached to a more stable quarterback regime.
Certainly,
I think there's no. To me, Skye Moore, that is a tier better than Alec Pierce, because Alec Pierce is a little bit blocked and a little bit more limited to me. Like he doesn't do as many things. He does really well, but I do think he's more of a high end complementary piece in an NFL offense. So, whereas Moore, I also think is a high end complementary piece, but maybe offers versatility to be a high volume piece if you don't have a true alpha.
Yeah.
Pickens
over both of them though every time.
For me, Pickens over both of them, and that's not how it's going to be drafted. You said 3-pick run. The next pick in the NFL draft was the tight end one, so it was really a 4-pick run.
All pass catchers, certainly.
Yeah. No, number 55, we get Trey McBride to Arizona, 23rd pick in round 2. Okay, so Kyler may not play year 1. Caveat. I actually think this weekend was pretty good for Kyler's chances of playing. I don't want to open that can of worms, but like bringing in his old buddy, like getting him another tight end. Like they made a lot of moves that feel like peace offerings. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Setting that aside. I like this player. What do you think about Zack Ertz here? Before we get too deep into McBride.
Yeah, I mean, Zack Ertz is guaranteed $10 million for 2023. Okay, his contract says that. So, long road ahead for Trey McBride. It's hard for me to imagine that the Cardinals are going to transition into a 12 personnel, 2 tight end. That's 12 personnel, right? That type of offense, because they want to run more of a spread. I don't know. He just because he says tight end by his name doesn't mean he can't be out there on the field. He catches passes, and he wins routes. He fights the defender at the top of the route and gets open. McBride does, so that's cool. He should get on the field. He should be productive on the field. I fear his ceiling is just super limited by Ertz, but you don't expect that much out of a rookie second-year tight end anyway. I don't know. There's about a dozen receivers in the class I'm drafting ahead of McBride right now.
Yep.
Me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree with that. All right. And then closing out our run through all of the interesting guys in round 2, all the relevant guys. We've got James Cook to Buffalo, one of the premier running back landing spots at the 231, 63 overall. Gosh, man, what do you do with this? This is the most confusing player in the draft to me. You can tell me a plausible story where he is the starting running back on the best offense in football in 2023.
That's power words right there when you talk about that.
And you can tell me a plausible story where their intention from the moment they drafted him with this almost in the 3rd round pick, right? I mean, it's good draft capital for running back, but
yeah,
still is to be like a gadget player and like also play at wide receiver in some 3 wide receiver sets and take some of the Cole Beasley, Jamison Crowder routes, but then also like a few, like some of the 3rd and longy snaps, but then also Devin Singletary is the main runner. And then maybe they draft somebody in next year's deep class to just be the guy. And then James Cook transitions to, just being the gadget guy. I don't know. I don't know what to make of him. I suspect people will be all over the place on him. I suspect I won't get a lot of him because every league's going to have the guy who's high on him. And I'm confused by him. So
yeah, I mean, I agree with those points. I think Buffalo's still going to have a committee approach. I mean, you're looking at maybe a 4-player chair with Singletary, Duke Johnson, and who's the other guy I'm thinking of? Moss. Is Moss dead for them? He kind of fell out to nowhere, so maybe he's nothing. But
dead and buried.
Buffalo's drafted extremely, extremely well across the entire field the last several years in a row, with one exception. They have not drafted running back very well. So this might be another case of that. I think I don't know if you agree with this, but I think there is a real world, a real range of outcomes that Duke Johnson has a higher fantasy finish than James Cook. I mean, that's possible. I don't know. You think that's crazy?
It's conceivable.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, how much they seem to have wanted J.D. McKissick is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, they appear to have really wanted him. And then how much Washington appeared to really want him back is also crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, he appears to have been extremely vital to both of their offseason plans.
Yep.
Despite seemingly better running backs. And then this is their response is, well, fine, we're just going to spend a 2nd round pick on premium J.D. McKissick. I don't know. I don't know what to do with this. I think you're going to have to draft capital wise, and because of the offense he's attached to, I think you're going to have to slot him in no later than the top 3rd of the 2nd round, 203, 204. I don't. It's going to be hard for me to get past that because, once you get to that point, you're starting to talk about the 2nd round guys like John Metchi. John Metchi's never going to be a top 12 fantasy player.
Nope.
Right, and so when you start getting into that group of guys, I find it hard to have Cook behind those. But I feel like there will be drafts out there where he goes 103, and people are like, yes. The 3 2nd round running backs. Those are the first 3 picks in this draft. It's not that hard to imagine. So I don't know what to do with them.
I agree with all those takes. I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head. If I'm sitting there on my 2.4 rookie pick and Cook's there, I'm probably taking him. At the 2.1 though, there's probably a receiver I want more. So yeah. Velus Jones. the 25-year-old wide receiver, he turns 25 next month, guys, if you didn't know that, was taken by the Chicago Bears as the 7th pick in the 3rd round. Don't know a whole lot about this guy. It makes me nervous for Justin Fields. I'm a heavy Mooney owner. I was picking him up a lot when he was basically free, and that's cool. I feel good about that for Mooney, but don't I don't have anything positive to say about this guy.
Very scary. It's
Yeah.
Tape watchers don't like this pick. Analytics people hate it. Yeah, I am scared for Justin Fields with all of this. But hey, listen, there's Byron Pringle and EQ St. Brown stashes may end up paying out in the end. It turns out, I don't know, man. It's scary how they're handling Justin Fields. All right, moving on. 73, ninth pick of the 3rd round, 73 overall. Jelani Woods to Indianapolis.
Jelani Woods.
Oh yes. So I absolutely love this prospect. I love this landing spot. I love this draft capital. Matt Ryan throws to the tight end. He's the 2nd tight end off the board in the high 3rd round, top 75 draft capital. All the things that should have happened with Jelani Woods happened. And boy, you're going to have a hard time hiding your short defensive backs against the Colts when they go 12 personnel with Pittman and Alec Pierce outside and Jelani Woods and Gigantor running up the scenes.
And Taylor in the single back. I hadn't even thought about that. Oh boy, that is some.
Yeah. This is a beefy team.
And Matt Ryan pulling the levers on all that. That's offense, man. That's NFL offense. I love this. Yeah.
I love this guy. I think that he's raw. I don't think he's going to start over Mo Alley Cox week 1, but it would not surprise me to hear, oh wow, look, he'd been doing nothing and there's a big game, and then 3 weeks later there's like another kind of big game, and then you're like, oh, is this a thing now? And like suddenly you can play him in a flex somewhere. He's a ridiculously athletic human being, and he seems to be catching on to what you have to do to play tight end. All right, next pick, 74th overall, 10th pick of round 3. We have our quarterback 2, Desmond Ritter, going to the Falcons. This is the 3rd latest quarterback 2 in the common draft era. Right, so that's like going back AFL NFL merger
like
times.
70s, right? 60s, way back.
Yeah. So I like this landing spot. Relatively, he's a 3rd round quarterback. Okay, and next year there's going to be a bunch of good quarterbacks. So you have to think every quarterback who isn't Kenny Pickett from this draft is just under the gun, right? They all have, a weapon aimed at their heart called the 23 draft class. And if they happen to wind up in a situation where their team is sitting there on the clock and there's a guy who they think is an elite prospect at the quarterback position available to them, they're going to take him, right? So all of these guys might just be doomed no matter what they do. Just remember that when we talk about any of these quarterbacks now beyond Pickett. That said, it's not that hard to imagine Desmond Ritter winning this job. Marcus Mariota is not that good.
Yeah.
And what if he wins the job and is like Davis Mills level okay?
Mm-hmm.
Also, they're in a trashy division.
Oh, yeah.
What if they sweep the Panthers and split with the Saints? And you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
And Desmond Ritter has a couple of game-winning drives, and look, it's London and Pitts getting involved, and right, maybe he could keep his job, right? So where you would have been happy drafting Davis Mills, that's where I think you're thinking about Desmond Ritter with the same kind of upside profile. Plenty of opportunity to start. I think Mariota and Tyrod are the same kind of guy in a lot of ways. They're both injury prone. Likely never gets a chance, but there's that kind of home run upside. So he's worth a pick in the high third to me.
I always like to put the quarterback right up against the tight end of his similar tier. That's to me always a comparison that's interesting to make in terms of selecting players. So we just talked about Woods. You're sitting there at the 3.1 of your Superflex single tight end start tight end premium league. Woods and Ritter are both there. Who are you taking?
Woods.
Okay.
I'm not even flinching at that point.
Sure.
I mean, but I really like Woods. Okay. Now the next guy we're going to talk about is Greg Dulcich. That's the third tight end off the board. He went at 80, 7 picks behind Woods, and I'd take Ritter there. So I have Ritter ahead of Dolcich behind Woods.
Yeah.
And so that I'm not dead with Ritter is not dead to me. There's some value there. You can see the path. Greg Dulcich, Denver, 80, 316. I don't know. This is a boring pick. He was the tight end 3 in my rankings. He was the tight end 3 off the board. He was the tight end 3, 2 or 3 or 4 in most analysts' rankings. I don't love this fit, honestly. I don't think Russell Wilson uses the tight end a whole lot, and I think this is the same guy Albert Boom is. Like neither one of them blocks real well. So they're not really two-way tight ends. So they kind of, I don't know. And yet, this is a good enough athlete that it's not hard to see him being a consistent tight end 2 year after year in 2 years. And so if you need to have a couple of options at the tight end position and you draft a guy like this in the late third round this year, in a year or two, he could be one of your 2 usable guys. Or 3 usable guys, and you could have gotten him for very little. So that, I think, is what you're looking for with Greg Dulcich. I don't see much ceiling here. 86th overall. This is the key one. Malik Willis to Tennessee in a trade-up. Tony, what do you think here? Malik Willis. I mean, I honestly don't know what to make of this. I think we lost Tony, maybe.
Yo, check. Oh, sorry, I was muted for a sec. I don't know. I'm not gonna get him very much just because people are gonna be overdrafting him.
Where are you gonna draft him?
Where am I gonna take Malik? All those dozen receivers that I mentioned ahead of McBride are all above Malik for me for sure. I feel like I want Malik over Velus Jones and over Taekwon Thornton.
Sure. Give me a number ish.
2.8.
I don't know if. Yeah, I still might be lower than that.
Yeah,
210, 212. I don't know.
Right in there. That's where I'm at.
Tennessee rescued his value too here because if he had gone to a worse place, I'd have been totally out. So Desmond Ritter in Atlanta, I like more than Malik Willis in Atlanta in some ways, right? Because Desmond Ritter might be good enough to win a few games, right? Like if you had to throw Malik Willis out there, you would just be guaranteeing that you'd just be picking high next year and then you replace it.
Yeah, I mean, supporting cast matters. I mean, the Falcons are kind of just bad everywhere.
Right.
And the Titans are, they're coming off a number 1 ranked top seeded season, so maybe that buoys Malik should he get an opportunity.
Well, but I think the key thing here is like they're not going to have a high pick next year, right? Like they're not going to be.
Yeah.
He went to one of the few places where they had a reason to draft a quarterback because they're not Kansas City. They're not locked in for 10 years at quarterback, right? And yet we don't expect them to be picking high next year. So like this is one of the few places where he might be able to sit on the bench for a year or two and not be ready to play and yet not be replaced and yet still get the opportunity, right? In a reasonable amount of time because Tannehill is a 1 to 2 year piece there, right?
I mean, how bad does Tannehill have to play to just get benched? I mean, that's the
He's
question,
not getting.
right?
I.
Like,
It's hard. It's almost unimaginable.
yeah, it's almost unimaginable. So,
No,
like, that's what you're
this is
getting.
red shirt.
If I'm the
Red
Tannehill
shirt.
owner, I'm very interested in Malik. I'll tell you that
Yes.
much. I'm willing to take him, you know, at a place where I'm gonna get him. You know what I mean? I literally don't own any Tannehill, so it doesn't really do anything for me. Um, maybe if the Tannehill owner's like 2 picks lower than me in the round, like he's at 2.8 and I'm at 2.6, maybe I take Malik and then make him ransom a trade for me where I swap down. Maybe something like that happens, and then if it doesn't happen, it's fine. I have a Malik. Yeah, it's not there, guys. It's not there for Malik. Just don't spend a top 15 pick on Malik Willis. Just don't do it.
Yeah. Now let's get running faster as we're into the back half of round 3. Jalen Tolbert went to Dallas at number 88, the 324. This is an exciting physical prospect, but this is a little bit of an overcrowded receiving room. Late 2, high 3 in rookie drafts. Ironically, Michael Gallup was my favorite comp for this guy. Yeah. So I mean, don't fade guys too much because they have a crowded path to play, especially since he is now attached to a good young quarterback in Dak Prescott. But, there's CeeDee Lamb's not going anywhere for a while. Gallup's not going anywhere for a while. So, temper your expectations. 91st overall, 327, or the 27th pick of the third round. Rachaad White to Tampa Bay. This is interesting.
Oh yeah.
This is a premium handcuff.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any possibility that this is the James White of this new Tampa Brady offense?
Yeah, I don't know.
So that connection might have me pushing him a spot or two higher in my ultimate rankings.
This is bad for Vaughn, right? This is bad for Vaughn that they even took a running back in the first top 100 players.
Yes, for sure. So yeah, I'm amongst the third round backs. This one's interesting to me. Tyrion Davis Price, San Francisco, pick 93, the 29th pick of round 3. This is the most surprising running back on day 2. Second round rookie pick, probably in your rookie drafts because he's a third round back, and San Francisco is so unpredictable. But gosh, this is a physically talented back who was not that productive in college, despite tons of good offensive linemen. San Francisco is so unpredictable in the running back usage. I don't know what to do with Elijah Mitchell here. What are the chances? Does Elijah Mitchell have to beat TDP out for a job, or does Davis Price have to win the backup job from Trey Sermon first? Well, where are we?
Trey Sermon's dead. Trey Sermon's dead to me. I don't I have him rostered. I'm not gonna cut him, but I'm assuming Davis Price immediately jumps into the team ahead of Sermon on the depth chart. Is that what you're asking? And I think him, Jeff, and Mitchell are a timeshare type scenario in the beginning of the season.
So,
I don't know. I don't know.
Do you think Mitchell is the starter now, or do you think Mitchell is the favorite in a competition to be the starter?
The second. The latter.
Yeah. So, very bad news for your Mitchell owners. Sorry, guys. But they've had a different leading rusher 5 years in a row. So, if you were counting on your 6th round pick, hey guys, also remember Michael Carter?
I remember Michael Carter.
At the Brees Hall pick. Remember we talked about how Michael Carter got wiped out after a good rookie year.
You mean 4th round pick Michael Carter?
Yeah,
4th round of the NFL draft?
All right, so here we have 6th round pick Elijah Mitchell having a fantastic rookie year. and getting third round guy drafted in right behind him. Okay. So just remember that when we get to later in this episode. Matt Corral, Carolina, late third round, 94th overall, the 30th pick. Here's what my notes said. I'm going to read them. I mean, I guess that is,
Yeah.
if they don't get Baker, he should get some starts once they fall out of contention. Those are my notes.
My notes are just a shrug emoji. Yeah.
Surely a new regime will be here next year, and they will draft a quarterback with what will surely be a very high pick. And surely there is nothing short of everybody was wrong about Matt Corral, and he's the next Tom Brady that can keep him his job, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to do with Corral. He's an interesting flyer late, right? Darnold can't stay healthy. How many games has he ever even started? Like 12 in a season? I mean,
yeah. But I do feel like this is a guy you could sell if he gets the job, either through injury or whatever. So, like, again, in the Davis Mills draft range, right? Like, sometimes you get a Davis Mills, sometimes you get a Kellen Mond, right? Like, mostly you get Kellen Mond, but sometimes you get Jalen Hurts, right? Like,
I have so many Kellen Mond shares, it makes my head spin. So I'm excited to get more of them with Matt Corral. All right.
All right. Pick number 98, Brian Robinson Jr., running back to Washington. Gosh, listen, has any team been more clear about the fact that they don't like their running back as much as you guys in the fantasy community like their running back than Washington with Antonio Gibson, right? They don't like their running back. They call back the JD McKissick shenanigans, right? They did shenanigans that got them badmouthed all around the league amongst their colleagues to get JD McKissick back.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were so afraid to throw Antonio Gibson the football. Mm-hmm. And now a team that doesn't have a ton of draft capital, does have a ton of holes, spends a third round pick on a running back who sure looks like he does a lot of the things that Antonio Gibson does, and also all of the things that JD McKissick doesn't do. Listen, take Brian Robinson late in your second round of your rookie drafts. Wait a year when Antonio Gibson is gone from this team. He will be the starter. Taking Brian Robinson Jr. With the 2-10 and then waiting is eating your fantasy vegetables.
Yeah, it's just good for you.
It's just good for you. You may not love it, but it'll help you grow big and strong.
So I was going to ask, so you have him above Jared Patterson in terms of, like, who's the Gibson handcuff? Yeah, third round. That makes sense.
All right, David Bell, Cleveland, 99th overall, the 335. David Bell is my favorite third round wide receiver by a lot, especially when you consider landing spot.
Yep.
He's my wide receiver 11 or 12, and it kind of pains me that a guy who went 99th is going to get 206 or better ranking from me, but he is. I think he's going to eventually be the possession starter in Cleveland, maybe as soon as this year. And, he'd look real good opposite Amari Cooper, I think. I don't see any reason he can't beat out Donovan Peoples-Jones. So, David Bell, I like. Be aware of that name. This is one of those guys who was hyper productive and tested badly. And then we've got a couple of more picks here in day 2. Jeremy Ruckert, New York Jets, tight end, 101st overall. This is for 2 tight end leagues and deep leagues with big taxis. This is a potential starter in a year or two. They just signed a couple of tight ends, and this is a block first tight end. But, I mean, he could also end up in a year or two being the starting tight end on a good offense. So, and he got day 2 draft capital. So, in a 2 tight end league with a big taxi, you go take this guy, you stash him, you see what happens. And rounding out the third round, Danny Gray. San Francisco reaches again. Tyrion Davis Price, now Danny Gray, 105th overall, the 41st pick of round 3. I would be surprised if he wasn't a 4th round ranking in my ranks. I don't get this pick at all. I don't like this pick at all. Unless Debo gets traded between now and when my rookie drafts go off, I'm not going to get a lot of shares of this guy, although he may fall so far that I do. He's a speedster. So let's think about this. Who are some of the big day 3 guys we got to mention very briefly before we get out of here? I think the top 2 guys off the board on day 3 at 401 and 402, picks 106 and 107, have to be mentioned. And that's Cade Otton of Tampa Bay, a tight end, or Cade Otton, a tight end who went to Tampa Bay, I should say. And the thing we got to talk about here very briefly is Gronk, right? Is this a hint about Gronk, or is this just a hedge against Gronk and a Gronk can't play forever move? Otton's a good blocker. If Gronk retires, there's a chance he at least plays as much as Brait. I think probably not, but it's possible. I don't know. I think he's a good player. And other than the fact that tight ends take a couple of years to develop, and Brady will probably be retired by the time Otton is anywhere near his peak, and then all of that, I don't mind this landing spot. The other thing, the other guy here at the 2nd pick of round 4 is Dameon Pierce, running back out of Florida who went to Houston. I am very, very interested in this guy.
Love it as well. I'm pretty interested in Pierce.
Marlon Mack sitting out there as the starter, made it through day 1, made it through day 2. This is the competition he gets. I think Pierce wins this competition.
I do too.
If not by week 1, then by Halloween. Again, Michael Carter, right?
Wherever Pierce ends up going in your rookie draft, you're going to look back a year from now and be like, wow, Dameon Pierce went there.
Yes.
That's what's about to happen,
but
guys.
Think about that.
I think.
But hang on, right? So that's all going to happen. Yeah. That's all going to happen. He's going to go. He's going to go late 2, early 3. I'm going to get a lot of shares of him. You're going to get a lot of shares of him. Mm-hmm. He's going to be worth way more by Halloween than he is on draft day, right? And then we're going to get to the off season, and the startups are going to start. And if you go like 0 RB and you're like, oh, who's a cheap young running back? If I'm fading the position, it's going to be like Dameon Pierce is the sexy name, like Michael Carter, right? See where I'm going with this, right? Like Elijah Mitchell.
And then he gets wrecked again in next year's draft by some high premium capital rookie. Yeah.
Get you some Dameon Pierce because he's got opportunity and he is a solid workman-like running back in this league, right? He's gonna win this job. He's going to look good. He's going to fly up dynasty value charts, and you trade out of him because the Texans have 2 1s next year. They have 2 2s next year. What other picks do they have from Cleveland? They have an extra 4 next year. Mm-hmm. It's a dynamite running back class, right? Michael Carter. Does any of this sound familiar, people? He's going to get wrecked next year.
Yep.
Get him now, and remember my words. You trade him when the season is over because he's going to get wrecked.
Flip him after some big games around week 10, around your trade deadline, to a contender for a 2023 first. Do that.
Love that.
You'll probably be able to.
So
you'll probably be able to.
Yes, because they'll be like, sure, it's an overpay, but he won't. But at least I'll have a starting running back for next year.
I'll pay it. I like this guy. My team's doing well. Meh. And then they finish in the 109 hole, and you get some top 10 elite rookie next year who's got top 20 capital.
I'm taking Tank Bigsby. Yeah, I went 24th to Kansas City. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I want that more than Pierce, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, other names. Mostly we're talking about running backs here. Zamir White went to Las Vegas. at the 417, 122 overall. The same day, they declined the 5th-year option on Josh Jacobs. That has to be interesting to you. This looks like a guy who has a shot to be the handcuff. Kenyon Drake is still there. It's the Patriots system, but like you gotta like this landing spot. And then the very next pick, Isaiah Spiller, 418 to the Chargers. Austin Eckler is not a spring chicken. They have shown that they want to put a big guy in as his running mate. Isaiah Spiller is a big guy who is a reliable player. And I think this is a fantastic, like, finally, the Chargers got the guy to fill the Justin Jackson, Larry Roundtree. There have been like 5 of these guys over the years, right? Who they keep trying to put into that spot with Eckler.
Yeah,
since Melvin Gordon left.
Keep fizzling out. Yeah,
this is the guy. This is the guy, and I think he's good enough that if Eckler misses a week, he's not a split work back that week. He's okay, well, then this is a 20-touch guy, and you plug him in your lineups. So Spiller, you get him in round 3 high, you're very happy. I think those are most of the key guys, don't you?
Yeah, Eckler owner go out and get Isaiah Spiller. If you got to spend your 210 rookie on Spiller as an Eckler owner, just do that. Don't feel bad about that. It makes you so much safer.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Oh, and then let's talk about. All right, let me run through the last few names. Calvin Austin went to Pittsburgh in the 4th round. We have talked about how Pittsburgh is light on receiver, especially after Deontay next season. Calvin Austin is exactly the kind of receiver that Chase Claypool and George Pickens are not.
Yeah, he is Deontay. Calvin is Deontay. He's smaller with great handles, right? Like, that's what he does.
He's considerably smaller than Deontay, but yes.
Is he? Okay.
Oh yeah, he's like 5'9". He's not 6. He's not
he is extra small. My bad.
But he could do a lot of the same things, but he is definitely smaller. Another guy, Romeo Dobbs, 4th round to Green Bay. If a 4th rounder came in and was a little better than they expected, they have a thin enough receiving core that he could play this year.
Oh yeah. He could start over Christian Watson by the end of the season. Could be. I mean, if Watson doesn't pan out how they want, could be.
Tyler Algier, a running back I really like, who went high 5th to Atlanta, the only running back they took. Look at that running back room. Okay, it is Cordero Patterson, Mike Davis, and Damian Williams, and Quadri Olson. I am confident saying that Tyler Algier is at least better than all those guys but Patterson, and maybe better than Patterson. Now, just as taking handoffs, he's a good player. There's a late 3rd round, I don't know, that kind of guy. He's a 5th round running back, 3rd round guy, has a chance to be a starter this year. Pierre Strong, 4th round running back, went to New England. New England drafted a running back in the 4th round last year, and he turned out to be a very nice draft pick. They have an unsettled running back room. And the guy on top of that, Damian Harris, is in his walk year. Pierre Strong, really nice stash. Khalil Shakir went to Buffalo at the very top of the 5th round. This is a guy who profiles very much in that slot role that Cole Beasley and Jamison Crowder have occupied. Maybe he develops there. He's a guy who went at the high 5th round, but a lot of people had him in the 3rd round. And finally, I think Hassan Haskins went in the 4th round to Tennessee, has a very good chance of being the injury away guy for Derrick Henry, who is coming off an injury. So you got to like that.
Derrick Henry handcuff, very valuable thing to have, I think. Yeah.
So I think there's some other guys some tight ends who are interesting and injury away running backs in Baltimore, Cleveland, and Kansas City. But I think we mostly have gotten. I think we can get out now.
Yeah, before we kill it. Yeah, just real quick before we kill it. Who are the undrafted guys you're tracking? Are there any that come to mind? Maybe you haven't looked into
Justin Ross.
Justin Ross. Okay. Carson Strong went undrafted.
Carson Strong went to the Eagles.
Did he?
he went to the Eagles as a UDFA.
Mhm.
That has all just started.
Yeah.
There are a few running backs, Abram Smith, but Justin Ross is the big guy for me. Like the other thing about him is, medicals stuff we have no access to, and the teams have tons of access to, and he's a
Yes.
medicals guy. So like,
Strong is.
don't get no.
Ross. Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Strong is as well. Strong is as well, and Justin Ross. Yes, both of those guys. So yeah, just those teams aren't stupid about the medical stuff. Sam Howell, Washington, first pick of round 5, by the way. That's worth noting.
Yeah, Wentz
Yeah.
handcuff. If I'm a Wentz owner, I'm taking Howell in my in my 311 spot or something. Maybe
Yes.
lower. I don't know.
Maybe lower. Maybe you can
Probably
lower.
lower. Yeah.
All
right,
right,
yo. That's it. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Now we're done here, guys. Subscribe. Hit the thumbs up. I love it. Be a first round pick yourself. It's one subscribe button away. Hit me up on Sleeper. Let's talk. We're going to keep making content. We're going to do a mock draft here soon. We're going to keep breaking down the rookies. We're going to talk about the UFAs as they sign. We're going to rank these rookies out. We're going to be talking about how they move, our takeaways from the live rookie drafts we're in. I mean, I'm in a rookie draft right now. I've been putting it on the screen as we've gone along. I have like 5 other rookie drafts starting in the next 24 hours. How many rookies do you have coming up, Greg? You got a few?
I only have I think 1 starting tomorrow, but I've got like 3 starting on Monday.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're all coming up, and it's a good dozen of them by next Sunday.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that.
Next Sunday. Yeah.
We'll be taking those experiences and putting them on film for you guys to learn from. Saying, what's the meta? What are people doing? Who's trading out of where? Where are the tiers going? Who keeps falling? That kind of stuff. We're going to let you, who are we buying in the third as much as we can. All that good stuff. But thank you. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. God bless you. Have a wonderful night out there.